Hello angels and welcome to another tutorial. Yay! And today we're going to be talking about this. Yes, this. It's not this is the day. No, it's this in JavaScript. I know this is one confusing concept, but I'm hoping that by the end of today's tutorial you would understand it. So let's hop into it. Okay, so how should we imagine this? Normally, when you check for the definition of this, you hear that this refers to a context, the context in which it is called. Well, that doesn't really make much sense. But now I want you to imagine this like an actor. So this is an actor, right? So depending on the stage this actor is in and depending on the director, the role of this would change. That is, which is in this case, the context of this would change. So let's start with the different stages this actor is going to play in. So the very first stage is called the global stage, where we are right now. So if we do this, right, this is the global stage, right? So this like this is going to be determined whether it is called in Node or if it is called in the browser. So if it is called in the browser, it is called, okay, so if we let's just console log this. So we'll say this, we'll say console.log this, then just open a terminal and do command prompt, then we do that's going to be node index.js. Okay, so you could see it's just an empty array. So let's try the global this. And we go back. So this is what this represents in Node. This is different for the browser. So if we're here in our index.html, so we do console log, and in our situation we are referring to window, right? So if we okay, let me drag that in. Maybe console log console, you can see the window has all those things that we were. This is this is this. Okay, so depending on where you are, if it is the browser, this represents window. If it is in Node, this refers to global this. Okay, so this is on the global stage. This is at the top level stage, right? So in this situation, when you call this like so, you are referring to global this. Same thing as if you call this like this, you're referring to the global this. All right, so now this is window, this is global this. So we could say global this dot let's say role is equal to Superman. There's a reason why I'm doing this. You will understand pretty soon. So here too, we could just say window dot role. We could say Superman too. Okay, good. So now if you console log global state or global this, or okay, so if you say, let me just console log global this row and see what will happen. You can see we have Superman. Good. Now I want you to just hold that in one hand because we are going somewhere. So now we've talked about global stage called this. Now let's talk about another stage. The next stage we want to talk about is the function, right? So if we call this let's just call it finder because honestly I couldn't think of something. So if we say, let's try console logging this here, console.log this, and we will call this, and let's see what will happen. So what do we have? Exactly the same thing that we had when we had console log global this when we did this. We have the exact same, and guess what? We can see role here, Superman. Role is Superman here. So it means that in a function, whenever you call this in this particular stage also refers to the global stage. Yeah, so you can also apply this here too if you want to try that out. You see it's gonna turn out the same thing. So back to what I was saying, this in this particular situation refers to the global stage. So let's start again. When you call this right here, the actor is Superman. When you call this right here, the actor is still playing on the global stage when you just call this in a function, and still this is Superman. So if you go again and say the role, let me remove this previous one, there's no need for that. If you check, you can see it is Superman that's there. Okay. Okay, we also don't need this. Okay, so I hope with this you understand how the global stage, this refers to the global context, that is the global then also in a function, this is also acting on the global stage, right? Fantastic. Now this changes his role, or their role. This changes their role when this function, if we're using this function as a constructor. Okay, so now we're getting into more details. So let's remove this, and we say function, then we're going to say user, right? So note this is a capital U, although it doesn't really matter, but I'm using a capital U so that you are aware that this is a constructor, right? So if I say this, the role is equal to what role should we be playing here? I don't want to say Batman, let's say the riddle. Okay, right? If we come here and we say const user1, no, not user1, equal to new user, right? In this particular situation, this is referring to the object itself. This is referring to the object itself. So if we have, like, say, a function called, like, let's say this dot get role, then we say equal to and we say this, no, we're going to console.log this. Let's see what happens. So if we come here and we say user1.get role, let's see what happens. We go back here, so you can see it refers to the user. So whenever this is playing in a constructor, this now takes instruction from that constructor. So this time it's taking on a new role, it's taking on a new phase. So this time if we do console of this dot role, and we go back here and we check that, you can see the riddle. So in this particular place, in this context, on this stage, this refers to this constructor, this object right here. All right, because so which is different from just an ordinary function. This is referring to the global stage. All right, okay, fantastic, good. So this that we just did right here as a constructor would also would also apply to a class. So if we do this for a class, then I mean this will refer to that class too, the way this refers to that constructor. Okay, that's fantastic. Now let's look at this on a different stage. The stage that we want to look at this time is an object. So we'll just create an ordinary object, const let's say person is equal to name. We'll say Tolani, and then we'll say ask name, and it will be function, and this time we will just say console.log this dot name. Good. So in this particular place, in this context, this refers to the object itself. On this stage, whenever the actor is playing in an object, this refers to that object itself, right? So if we do let's say const the name is equal to person. Okay, no, let's just say person dot asks name and just call that like that. So you can see we have Tolani, because on this particular stage, the actor or the actor is going to be taking their instruction or their direction from an object. So on this particular stage, that would be what this refers to. This will refer to the person. Now, and one thing you need to note is that when it comes to arrow functions, this kind of works differently. This is where things get a bit tricky, right? Because this inside an arrow function does not have its own context, right? In an arrow function, this would inherit its context or its instruction from the scope in which they are defined in. Okay, so let me explain that a bit. So okay, so, and this is the reason why when we're using set intervals or set timeout and we use an anonymous function, depending on how you call it, then things become very tricky. I'll show you what I'm referring to. So okay, no, let's still use this person, right, this person, let's still use this particular one, but this time we want to say let's just call it a delete name. Okay, and in this delete name we're going to have, it's going to be a function, right? Not just a function, and in this function we're going to have a set timeout, and you know set timeout takes in a callback function and a time, so we'll just say just 200 milliseconds. So if we do function like this and we do like this, if we say console the log and we say this, so I'm just going to say person dot delayed name. I'm going to call that, go back to our, oh sorry, I didn't save, oops, save, come back to our terminal. So you can see what we have here is the global this. Is the global this. So in a function, like we said, in a normal function, right, this would refer to the global, the global, what's it called? The global stage. That hasn't changed. However, it's different when this is an anonymous function. When it's not an anonymous, when it's an arrow function, right? When it's an arrow function, just point of correction on that. When it's an arrow function, then this will be different. Now, when it's an arrow function, it's the closest lexical context, that is the closest director or stage that it's going to call it. So let's go back and we do. And as you can see, it's referring to person. So like I said before, an arrow function would take its lexical context from the scope which is defined here, which in this particular case is person. Okay, I hope I didn't lose you there. I'm really hoping I didn't lose you there. Okay, another thing about this is that this can be also the context of this can change depending on if you use call, bind, or apply. But I feel like that should be for another video. But if you need me to explain that, do let me know in the comment section below and I'll make a tutorial on that. But I feel like with this video so far, you've been able to understand what this is about. So yeah, if you really enjoyed this, please do give it a like, give it a thumbs up, and do subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Bye to the lose.